Ah, there we go. Let's
Do you think
hope.
it'll work today?
Yeah, let's hope so. For a welcome back to the second installment. All right, let's hope it works today. If not, we'll do a call. All
We'll do a
right.
text message interview.
I'll send you an email. Okay, well, where were we? We were talking about theme repetition, I believe, and I want
Oh
to know
yes.
how you avoid that.
Um, how you avoid it? Yeah, I don't know how you avoid it because it's quite. The fact is that unfortunately, if you stand, especially with game music, if you stand in the same area, then the same piece of music will keep playing. So unfortunately, as the composer hasn't really got that control
Mm.
in regards to be able to control the repetition of the music. The composer writes the music, delivers it, and then really it's the game developers that manage to implement it into the game, and they choose the experience that the gamer actually has. So the composer isn't to blame all the time.
Good for you then. uh,
I can raise my hand. If it's good, then I obviously do it. But if it's bad, then I won't take credit for that.
it's not your fault. Um,
No, of course not.
so what I want to know is there's a whole bunch of different kind of like settings in Beyond.
Uh-huh.
Like I believe it's Somalia or somewhere in Africa, and
Somalia, yeah.
a Native American setting in a haunted desert, all sorts of different settings. Obviously, you'll have to use different like musical elements for that. How do you keep
Yeah.
how do you keep the theme and the elements that you use kind of on an even keel? How do you tie it all in?
Well, the main way of tying it in is that the fact that our subject character, Jodie, is there.
Mm.
So you've already got a way of being able to have a thematical world in it. It's the same as in a film or any other game. You can have the general theme of the whole game or the film, which is the whole world, but then you've got all of the characters that are in this world, and that's the same with Somalia. That she's there, so you can have a hint of her, and you so that it's as well as visually seeing her, you're hearing her also musically.
Okay. And do you have any like obviously it must be fun when you get a whole bunch of different settings like that to kind of try different almost styles with the different elements. Do you have any favorite kind of element to use or kind of setting or
Elements to use. No, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say a favourite one. No, because it's just they're all different, so it makes it all equally as enjoyable. Um, and also I think it's like I do the music to a lot of. There's a children's game called Skylanders that I do the music to, and that every single level has got its own piece of, it has got its own theme. So I think on Giants I was on about 15, 18 different themes for each single area, plus character themes also. So you can end up with a lot of themes going on and music going on. So it's I wouldn't say that there's a particular favorite. No, they're all favorites.
must be quite fun to do a whole bunch of
Uh,
different little kind of
well,
themes.
yes, it's fun. It's also very scary because it's bad enough trying to come up with one good theme. So when you get told you've got to do 20, it's quite intimidating because yeah, it's like if you buy an album, you only get one or two good hits on the album. So when you have to write lots of themes for one thing, it's very hard to write a lot of memorable hooks.
Okay. And the same thing, same similar question. obviously music for action scenes or and something that's more soulful, or they're obviously different. Um, do you prefer either of those, or is it all just awesome?
It's all great. No, I think I think after a while you like change, and I think that if you keep doing emotional scenes, you sometimes get a bit drained, and then having to do an action scene is quite refreshing. So, but then it's like anything. It's like if I only purely worked on horror genres, I think I would get quite bored. So. If I think about it, like this year I've done 2 comedies and children's games and adult games. You know, I just try to do lots of different things so that you get a different. You can mix it up a bit.
That's cool. Okay, I also read from a couple of other composers who've talked about the actual recording studio has an effect on the overall atmosphere of the music. Is that true? That the setting where you're recording actually has an effect on the sort of vibe or atmosphere or feel.
Well, yes, because it's its own life. I'm recording at Abbey Road Air Studios this weekend, and it has got a different sound than Abbey Road does, and I think as a composer you sit there and write music, but then you get musicians in to perform it, and that brings it to life, and then wherever you record it is always going to be a major contribution to the overall sound. Yeah, it brings life to it, and especially when you've recorded like at Air Studios, it is a very large church, and it's something that it's a natural sound instead of us synthetically trying to actually create the environment. So it's a major contribution. Yeah.
That's very cool. So, how did you get started on Beyond? How did you actually get involved in the whole project?
I got well. I don't fully know how I got started. I know when I started, and we used, because of the difference, we were doing lots of Skype calls and video conferencing to try to get into just discussing what the point, what the world of Beyond is. And then thankfully David was in London, was in Los Angeles, and then I presented him the main Jodie theme. So there was a lot of talking being done before any writing was occurring. You know, months of just talking and getting into David's head, because the game was part of his world for 6-7 years. So. For me to all of a sudden just start was just impossible. I had to kind of spend time listening to him talk about Jodie's character and the backstory, and be invited into his world, because it was I was just simply an outsider.
Wow. And it's a very interactive game. Like the choices, like I said in the previous section, uh, it's more like an interactive movie than a game. So that must, how does that affect what you're doing when you know that you've got a player who's going to sit down and play and make a whole bunch of different choices, and you have to accommodate for all the different scenarios?
All it is that it just makes it more complicated. That's all. You just spend more time looking at Google Docs and lots of kind of pie charts trying to figure out. So wait, have I covered this reaction? And if instead of a happy decision, it could turn it bad. So you have to make sure musically you have that theme and that arrangement. So there's a lot of time spent looking at computer documents and making sure that you've done the right thing, because Uh, I think when you watch a film, it's an hour and a half. The game, with Assassins, the gameplay was like 28, 29 hours. So it's very hard to be able to kind of get from the beginning to the end and judge everything musically, because if I had 28 hours free to be doing that, I would be unemployed and I would have no time. I wouldn't get any work done. So it's very difficult to be able to judge the bigger picture of writing something like this game. But I think that's when you rely on your audio team, because they will be able to look at these things and kind of go, gosh, there's not enough thematic development, and there's too much, for example. So we rely on them a lot.
Oh, okay. Speaking of having time, do you play any games? Computer games, video games, PS3, PS4, which is new.
I started playing when I started doing Assassins. I'd never played a game probably since probably since I was about 9. So that was it, and I just had no time. But then I think when Assassins came out, then when I did Washington, I then started trying to play. But the problem is, I sit down and I would lose 5 hours of my life in one straight.
It is pretty time consuming.
It's very time consuming, especially when you're not a good gamer and you've got no coordination like me. I just spend a lot of time kind of going around in circles all the time, and I can't kind of do any. I think one of the first games I worked on called Duty Modern Warfare. I think my mother was better at it than me, so I'm just not good. but the thing is, the weird thing is that some people kind of say, well, you have to be a gamer to kind of be able to do the game music. Then having worked on a lot of games now, I know a lot of the guys that develop them and make them, and strangely enough, they don't have time. When it's their free time, they don't have time to be sitting playing games. It's
More of a creative like art than actually playing.
Yes, it's the same way. I know people that act in TV shows, but they don't have televisions. So I don't think it makes a difference what you do. You as long as you understand the technical points of view of what it has to do, then the job is about writing music. I don't think anybody wants me to write game music. They want me to write music that works for the game.
If it was game music, it wouldn't be sincere.
Yes, and also I think that you've got to look at things and kind of go, well, games. When I first started, games used to always reference film, and the music always used to be a reference from a film. And now, I never ever. I haven't in the last year or two gone into a meeting with a game company where they've referenced the film. It's their own identity, and they want to make something that's new. So that films are now referencing games. It's a role reversal occurring now.
It's a big industry. It's definitely coming up. So I assume you've seen an increase in work then on that from the gaming aspect.
An increase in what? Work?
Yes. Is it a balance?
Yes. I think I've seen an increase in far better quality games. Because I think that there's always been a high amount of games being made. It's the same as films. There's a lot of films being made, but they're not necessarily very good.
Now, I mean, for you, do you have like a balance between how many games you do or movies? Obviously, it's not a set thing, but I mean, are you seeing an increase in the amount of games you're being asked to do, or is it staying the same?
it's definitely. Yes, no, it's probably more. Yes, I get asked more, but I do less. Because you can't. It's working on a game with a film. You can come in and get it. And I've worked on films where I've done them in like 3 weeks. But the thing is, the whole school. One second. Sorry.
No problem.
No. I've worked in games, films where I've had a time period of like 3 weeks. But games normally, I normally work on a game for over a year. But I'm not working on it full time because sometimes there's nothing to do. The levels haven't been created yet, and sometimes, and also with games, because you're not dealing with live action, you can change your characters and your plots very easily. So it would be very hard to kind of work on several action games at one time, because I don't think you can get an individual voice for each one. Very hard.
Do you get to see any of the actual like production or any of like for instance Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe and all of those people acted in it? Do you get to see any of that stuff?
Yeah, I got there the day they finished, so I missed it all, unfortunately. But the more focus you have, and the more ability to be part of the project, the better end result I think you get. Because you have a better understanding of it, and you have you do this thing because you want to be part of the team. So if you kind of distance yourself so much, you just. I gotta call you back in 10 minutes.
It's okay. Don't
Bye.
worry. All right.
Bye.
Bye.